So, Carrie, how do you feel about surprises?
I think I like them as long as they don't scare the crap out of me or make me cry.
Well, today we do have a surprise for our listeners.
Oh, we do, and I think they're going to like it.
Me too, but it might make us cry.
Oh, that's true, but it's a good cry.
Too true. Welcome to Mom's Wooden Spoon, where the recipes are retro and so are your hosts.
You can say that again.
Hello, Mom's Wooden Spoon listeners.
Hello, one and all.
Yes, so we had decided to thrill you all this episode, but we're not going to thrill them in the way we had originally planned, are we?
No, we are not.
We originally were going to torture ourselves, really.
Yes.
We had decided, okay, you guys forced us to make a legal apple pie,
Yep.
and Carrie gagged and went running from the room. She was really crying tears of misery, right?
Oh, it was awful.
And so we thought, we were going to make the bean sprouts on toast and all the other ones, right? And then Carrie's like, no, I can't do that.
I'm done. I quit Mom's Wooden Spoon if that's what we're doing. No.
Carrie's suggestion was, let's make another impossible pie.
Right. They're delicious.
Yeah.
They're easy. I think you all actually, if any of our recipes you were going to make, the impossible pies, I think, are some of the faves.
Right. And we had a whole bunch left over from that competition we did last season. So it would have been perfect.
Right. Easy peasy to pick one.
Yes. But then we got the most special gift of all this Christmas, and we knew we had to do something different.
I mean, yeah, it was a no-brainer.
It really was.
Yeah, and we're going to cry telling you about it.
We are totally going to cry.
I'm crying and she hasn't even started yet.
I know, right? Well, for many months, I have been having so much fun corresponding with our stepmom's 104-year-old mother.
Yes.
Grandma Honey.
Yes.
And we have been corresponding over our mutual love of old cookbooks and old recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right before Christmas, Grandma Honey passed away.
Yeah. I mean, y'all, days before her 105th birthday.
Absolutely. It devastated the entire family, obviously including us. Yep. And so when Carrie and I opened our gifts this year, we found out she had sent us old cookbooks and cooking magazines for our podcast.
Yeah, she picked them out before she got sick.
Yep.
And so we each had a surprise awaiting for us, lovingly selected by her.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. We may have to pause here while we pull ourselves together. Clearly a beloved member of not just her family, but the extended family as well.
Absolutely. So we have decided to dedicate this entire episode to Grandma Honey and make a recipe from one of the super cool cookbooks that she gave us.
Oh my gosh. So I got some really cool magazines that she has been collecting. I mean, 80s. Oh my, so 80s.
They're going to be fun to look through.
They're so fun. Just the pictures are worth it. And Kristen got some cookbooks, including this one that she's going to talk about. I'm so jealous. It's so cool. If she, air quote, loses it, we all know whose house you're going to need to look for.
That's right. So she gave me a 1960s cookbook, which I cannot wait to look through, and we'll probably do one of those next season. But when I pulled this cookbook that we're using today out of the bag and looked at it, I about fell on the floor. I was looking for the copyright date because, librarians, that's what we do.
Yep.
And I thought it said 1920.
Yeah, because you got crazy old eyes.
There you go. Yes. I couldn't read it, so I passed it to your husband, who is older than I am, but he couldn't even read it. And he said, no, Kristen, this is 1902.
Yes, a cookbook from 1902.
So exciting. I know, right?
Amazing. Okay, so in case you're trying to do some maths in your head, this was not Grandma Honey's cookbook originally.
No, it was not originally her cookbook. She did love to buy them all over the place.
Yeah, estate sales. And
Yeah. Well, what we loved about this, it's called The Great 20th Century Cookbook. 3 meals a day. A choice collection of valuable and reliable recipes and all classes of cookery. Now, my favorite part is it's a comprehensive cyclopedia of information for the home.
Yeah.
Cyclopedia.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not an N Cyclopedia.
I'm not sure either, but really my favorite part is right on the front.
Yes.
It has the word toilet.
Yeah. Cooking, table, toilet, health.
Toilet on the front of a cookbook.
What more could you want?
I know. It says 1,000 Facts Worth Knowing by Maud C. Cook.
Thank you, Maud.
And the quote on the bottom is the way I really go through life. There is always a best way of doing everything.
Oh, girl, that speaks to you.
Snip, snap, snip, girl. Do it my way or the highway.
That's right. And it turns out my way is the best way always.
That's right. And apparently Maud's too. Right?
Well, I mean, clearly you've known Maud.
Maud and I are besties, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I had to look up Maud because I'm like, who is this audacious lady who puts toilet on the front of a cookbook, right? And why did she do that? Apparently, she really was a distinguished figure in the realm of etiquette and social conduct in the late 19th century.
I mean, that sounded so natural coming out of your lips. You didn't copy that at all. The realm of social commentary.
That's how I talk, Carrie. Leave me alone.
I got so caught up on realm, I heard nothing else that you said.
Okay, how about this? She's widely known for her seminal work from 1896.
Oh, yes, in her realm.
Her seminal work in her realm.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Her seminal work was called Social Life, or The Manners and Customs of Polite Society.
Oh, polite society.
Yeah. Now, honestly, if you guys are interested in hearing what Maud C. Cook believes is polite society and how to behave, that entire book is on Project Gutenberg for free.
I mean, I can't imagine that you'd want to, but if you had that time and inclination, you go,
why
girl.
Not? If you're interested in the early 1900s,
polite
why not?
Society.
It's free.
Okay, so speaking of polite society, before we started recording, Kristen and I had an interesting conversation about the value of polite society to people back in the day.
Absolutely. Surprisingly so.
Yes. And so we were also discussing this cookbook and maybe who it would pertain to.
Right. And Carrie and I really thought it was for two different groups of people.
And it turns out that only one person can be right, and it was me.
It was Carrie. I will admit that totally. So I was thinking that since Maud C. Cook was this bastion of knowledge for the upper society and how you should follow these rules and norms, I thought this was going to be for high society people, the people who had mansions in Newport, Rhode Island, right?
Right. And I thought that this was probably more to help people who were out on the plains, you know, creating a new homestead.
Right.
To not just have recipes for food, but to have recipes for everything else that they might need to deal with and that they might come across in life. Because
obviously.
Really, that's what the toilet is all about. It really had nothing to do with going to the, and everything to do with if you wanted a little perfume so you didn't stink like manure.
Yes.
How do you fix that?
There was a whole section of healthcare and how to deal with disease and things like that. And so I looked it up right before we started the podcast. Who did Maud C. Cook write this book for?
Yeah.
And sadly, I found out that Carrie was right when I read this. It was those who needed guidance on cooking, household management, and child rearing. And she often referred to this type of book as companions to cooks in remote areas.
Yeah, and it's a focus on polite society. And then Kristen drops some mad knowledge from her time in kind of the New England area.
Yeah, when I went to Plymouth, I think I told you guys this before, how I toured the Mayflower and how it was just astonishingly bad.
Yeah.
So when they got off the Mayflower and built this little teeny tiny village, I visited it and they had a reenactor in this dirt floor home with nothing. And she was ironing a tablecloth, a white tablecloth. And someone in the group said, "Why are you ironing a tablecloth? You barely have shoes. You barely have food."
Right. What a bootleg reenactment.
Yeah, this is weird. And she said, "Well, if we do not use all the things that we had in polite society, we would become like the animals."
So I thought that was super fascinating because I think that was why we have all these etiquette books.
Right.
I mean, A, you don't want to go someplace fancy and embarrass yourself. But
Yeah.
I think particularly in days gone by,
Yeah.
it was of such importance because life was hard and dirty and
Yes.
gross. And
You could become like the animals.
oh, absolutely.
But you iron your white tablecloth when you're starving to death and need the Native Americans to give you food and take care of you. But by golly, when those Native Americans come over, you're going to have your white tablecloth free of wrinkles.
Can you imagine what they thought?
No.
I was trying to kind of figure out what was life like in 1902 and what was going on and who would this, just to kind of have that idea that even though you're traveling in a buggy caravan across dusty lands of awfulness,
Right.
Trying not to get dysentery.
The Oregon Trail.
Yeah, basically, and other horrible things.
Yeah.
At the same time, you were trying to figure out how to bring these societal norms to this little community of survivors, I guess.
That's
very fascinating. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of painted a picture that I thought was really interesting and introduced this.
Yeah, very much.
And, yeah.
Very much. I thought that was so cool. So as we're looking through the cookbook, Carrie and I were really looking through this at Christmas at our dad and stepmom's house.
Yes.
We had so much fun trying to figure out what recipe we'd use. And we finally found one that we're really excited about. And it is called raised muffins.
Yes. And so we obviously looked into that because what the heck is a raised muffin?
Yeah.
I was thinking like a little blueberry.
Right.
No, turns out they did not have muffins like that at all.
No cake muffins, really. There was not a single one.
No, this is actually like an English muffin.
Yep.
Except there was no other kind of muffin, so they didn't bother distinguishing it.
Yes.
It was just a muffin.
And it's so interesting. We're going to cook these on the griddle.
Yes.
In muffin rings, which I had to order for us.
Yeah.
So this is pretty exciting. But as we were looking through this, we're trying to figure out what on earth recipe can we make? Because a lot of it is cooking it over the fire. There were a lot of recipes that would not compute to today's day and age.
No, so there's no temperatures anywhere to be found in the cookbook because it all depended on, how many logs you put in your wood burning stove.
Yeah, yeah.
So no temperatures at all.
It was very, very tricky. We found a couple and we're like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
So as we're looking through it, we found some old recipes that have been tucked inside, some coupons, pretty funny. And we found those and I pulled those out and used them as bookmarks so that we could figure out, which recipes we might want. So we got home and I was getting ready to scan this book into the computer so I could have the pages to show you all on the website. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, I wish Grandma Honey were still here to be able to hear this episode of the podcast and know that we were using one of the recipes she sent.
Well, and loving her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so as I was doing that, I was thinking about her and I picked up the cookbook, which had been open on the flatbed scanner, and a little piece of paper fluttered out. It was a clipping from a newspaper.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've told you this before, guys, but my husband used to eat muskrat when he was a kid.
I think you did.
Yeah, we made fun of him for it.
Yeah.
They would go to the Oak Harbor Fire Department and they would have muskrat feeds, all you could eat.
I mean, good news is he wasn't the only one.
No, lots of people would eat these muskrats.
From
the
muskrat.
Yeah. Well, guess what fluttered out of this cookbook as I was thinking about Grandma Honey? It was a newspaper article about muskrat ramble.
Oh.
And it had 2 recipes for cooking muskrat. One was barbecued muskrat from Mrs. B.C. in Oak Harbor, Ohio.
That is correct, because she did not live in Ohio.
No, she lived in Illinois. Right? And so it fluttered out. And I thought, oh my gosh, Grandma Honey knows we're making this.
That's so cool.
Any other recipe could have fluttered out and it would have meant nothing to me.
Right.
But I have harassed my husband so hard about going to an all-you-can-eat muskrat feed.
It was Grandma Honey telling you to be nice to your husband.
It was.
Sounds like her.
That's right. So it's perfect. So thank you, Grandma Honey. We hope we do you proud.
Absolutely. And Kristen will not be nice to her husband.
Yes, I will.
but good try.
Good try. Good try. Okay, so we have to make a batter here that is going to have to rise.
Before we start, can I tell you one of the crazy things that I found?
Please do.
I have been dying to tell you this.
Exciting.
Okay, so this was in, I don't know, kind of the medicine kind of section of the cookbook, and it is rattlesnake bite recovery.
Okay.
I have copied it directly from the cookbook.
Oh my.
To read to you. It's not very long at all.
Okay.
This is, let's pretend that Kristen just got bitten by a rattlesnake.
Oh my gosh, on
the Oregon Trail. Yes, but it's okay because I've got Maud's book. I'm flipping through to page 496.
Whoa, that's a lot of pages to flip through. Do it fast. Do it fast. This hurts, Carrie.
Yes,
this hurts.
Yes. And what I need to do is moisten fresh earth with water or saliva.
Oh, no.
And bind on the wound immediately.
Oh, so you don't suck the poison out.
No. Changing.
Saliva is involved here.
Yes. Okay. Or water.
Okay.
Changing every quarter of an hour.
Wow. So dirt.
There's more.
And spit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Tie a handkerchief tightly above the wound.
Okay.
To prevent the poison spreading.
Okay.
Keep the patient quiet. And send for enough whiskey to completely stupefy him as quickly as possible.
Is that what it says?
Literally word for word.
Oh, no.
Recovery is usually sure.
Whoa.
Or cut a small gash in the wound and apply hydrochloric acid. This is going to burn a little.
Oh, my God.
This is sure without the whiskey.
I'll take the whiskey. I'll be stupefied.
I thought that was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Spit in some mud, throw it on the wound, tie it off, and drunk you up with whiskey.
Well preferred to slicing me open and putting acid in it.
Well, I mean, my question was, where did you have the hydrochloric acid that you're just carrying that around?
I don't know.
I don't know if maybe it was used for lots of things, so you would just have a little bottle. I don't know. If you didn't have some handy, fear not. The whiskey, spit, and mud will do. To stupefy you.
I love it.
I thought that was the funniest thing. I have been dying to share it with you since I found it.
Awesome. Okay, so we had lots of conversations about this recipe and what we need to do. Because first of all, one of the ingredients is quite old-fashioned named. And we only know what the name is because our dad used to tell a story with the word in it.
Yes.
It calls for saleratus, the size of a pea dissolved in 1 tablespoon of hot water.
Yep.
But we knew what that is because Dad used to tell this story and it had like a sing-songy part. And the person would sing, sody, sody, sody saleratus, which is baking soda. They were making biscuits in the story.
Yes.
Yeah. So saleratus, we know, is baking soda.
Yep.
So we had to do a little working out. I did a little research about what would be a pea-sized amount of saleratus. And I actually found some English muffin recipes that called for 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda dissolved in 1 tablespoon of warm water.
Oh, that makes you feel good. Like you got it.
I think we got that.
Perfect.
Yes. The rest of it, I don't know. It calls for 1/2 cup of yeast.
Yeah, so I actually know quite a bit about this, oddly enough.
What?
So what I do know is that there are 3 kinds of yeast. Oh. There is yeast that comes like in a cake, and I am almost positive that that is the yeast that they are discussing. It is preferred by bakers, and you don't have to bloom it, but it dies very quickly and easily.
Oh.
Then they have processed yeast, and they're coated. So when you sprinkle it out, it comes out in little balls.
Yes, I've seen that before.
Okay, and so depending on how much coating is on the ball, depends on the kind of yeast that it is.
Oh, I see.
You have to bloom those because you have to kind of dissolve the balls to activate the yeast. And so you can store those on a shelf.
Yes.
They're totally stable. So, but they wouldn't have that, obviously, back in the day.
No.
So they just would have these cakes of yeast.
It's very interesting because I looked it up. I Googled what type of yeast would they have had in 1902. And apparently they would go to beer brewers and get their yeast. And it was considered fresh yeast.
Right. That's what this would be. Fresh yeast. that's just packed all together.
Yeah, and you'd use a lot of it.
Right, because the outside's all going to die.
Okay.
Because it's being exposed, right? So the inner part, that's where you're really going to find your good yeast.
Okay.
So this is not going to tell us to bloom. But the other thing I learned about, I did look this up, cake yeast. And the reason bakers prefer it is because you only need one rise. Whereas if you use these other yeasts, typically you do 2 rises. And this recipe, in fact, only calls for 1 ridiculously long rise.
Like hours and hours.
Yeah.
So I did tons and tons of research on English muffins and variety of recipes, what type of yeast everybody used. And then I talked to Carrie about it. And I think we've come up with a good idea. I think we're going to use 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. And I think we're probably going to go ahead and bloom it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we're going to use 2.5 teaspoons because that's how much is in the packet.
Oh, perfect. We'll just use the whole packet.
Do the whole packet.
And so do we need to warm the milk first?
Yeah.
To be able to bloom this then?
Yes.
Okay. So this recipe calls for 2 cups of milk. No other English muffin recipe I found had that amount of milk, but that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So 2 cups of milk, a teaspoonful of melted butter. That is so itty bitty.
It is, yeah.
2 eggs well beaten. We're going to do the 2.5 teaspoons of the instant yeast and then just a teaspoonful of salt. And then we'll add the sugar. It says stir in enough sifted wheat flour to make a thick batter about the consistency of pound cake.
I've never made a pound cake.
No.
Okay.
I did find a recipe that had, like I said, the saleratus
yes.
mixed in with the warm or hot water.
Yeah.
And they recommended that you add that in at the very last minute before you put this batter on the griddle.
I would not be opposed to that.
I wouldn't either. It'll almost be like a second rise, Carrie.
It would. Yeah, because that's the whole point.
So what I'm doing now is I'm warming the milk.
Yeah, and she's doing it like on the stove.
Yeah.
I had to pop that sucker in the microwave so fast.
I know, but remember our last one, our cherry bread pudding? We talked about the fact that it was going to be the podcast of nothing but beeps. I'm trying to avoid that.
I gotcha.
We also have to melt the huge measurement of butter.
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
That teaspoon of butter.
Yeah. I am dying to talk about the different sections of this book that were apart from the recipes.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like the rattlesnake.
Yeah. It had amazing housekeeping tips also.
Okay,
right?
I did not look at that.
Now that we are talking about who this was for, people on the Oregon Trail. Right. This makes sense. Maud C. Cook recommends that you save the feathered wings from any fowl that you cook.
Okay.
Because you can use them later to dust furniture.
Oh,
right.
Because of course you have to make your own feather duster.
Of course. Yes. And really, she said, there's nothing better for spreading wallpaper paste on than a feathered wing. What? So when you're on the Oregon Trail and you get to your cabin that you make in a dugout of a hill like Little House on the Prairie and you wallpaper that sucker, make sure you save the wings from the chickens that you find along the way.
Because, I mean, A, lots of those to be had.
Right.
B, who doesn't want to wallpaper their dugout, dirt floor home?
Exactly.
Right.
Hello.
While they're ironing their linens.
I mean, Ma Ingalls, all that wallpaper she had all over their cabin.
Obviously.
Seriously. So I thought that was great. But my ultimate favorite was the section for invalid cookery, or as your husband said, invalid cookery.
He did. He looked at this cookbook and he's like, invalid cookery? Like it's invalid, honey. It's invalid.
They had a huge section.
Oh, they did.
People were sick.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you'd have dysentery. You'd need someone to care for you, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So it said, for the patient, sick and weary with suffering, food should be prepared with the utmost care and served in the daintiest manner.
I mean, and then I don't know if you wrote this down, but she went on to spell out exactly what that meant.
Oh, heck yeah.
A small glass of water half filled so they do not spill it on themselves.
I mean, they were really lovely ideas, to be quite honest.
Do not put their soup in a goblet. They're likely to spill it.
Oh, right.
I mean, it was,
soup in a goblet.
Who serves that? It might not have been soup, but who's got goblets?
Right, on the Oregon Trail again.
You just carved out a
pumpkin.
A gourd. A gourd. I was going to say a piece of wood, but
Oh,
sure. A gourd.
Pumpkin. You drink
Makes
out of a
sense.
pumpkin. Yeah. Okay, now here are some delicious recipes
Okay.
for the invalid. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Number 1, toast water.
Oh, delicious.
Doesn't everybody want that when they're sick?
Heck yeah. I'd read somewhere in something that they were definitely sure that stale bread was far better for the invalid than regular bread. Or
Wow.
if you masticated it, I don't know,
Oh,
like
dear Lord,
100
please,
times.
no.
Then that would be the same.
Don't tell me that you had to masticate it for.
No.
Okay,
Not
okay,
the
baby
bird
style.
invalids. No.
All right, so toast water. Here are the directions.
Okay.
2 slices of stale bread.
Of course.
Toasted carefully a perfect brown.
Oh.
Cut into squares and pour over them 1 pint of boiling water. Now, here's the best part. Stimulants may be added according to the advice of the physician.
Oh, heck yeah. Throw on a little cocaine. Feeling better already,
people. Give me that toast water.
That's hilarious.
Toast water.
Toast water.
Oh, awful, mushy.
Yeah, it sounds bad.
Grossness.
Stale bread, though.
Stale
it was
bread.
a staple.
Yep. And then there was one that I think Carrie got pretty darn excited about. It's very similar. Rather than toast water, it's crust coffee.
Yeah. So do tell. What is that?
Okay. It is brown crusts of wheat bread or graham biscuits in the oven until thoroughly toasted through, but not burned.
Well,
I mean, that would taste terrible. Break into pieces and pour boiling water over them. Let steep and serve as ordinary coffee with cream and sugar. Very wholesome for dyspeptics.
Okay, so I had to Google dyspeptics.
I did too. I wrote it down.
Can I take over?
Okay, you go for it.
It is having indigestion or consequent irritability or depression.
Ooh, yes. I think I need some crust coffee. Carrie, this yeast.
Oh, it's frothy and lovely.
It's very good. Okay, so now we have to just dump her all in.
Yes.
We need melted butter, 2 eggs well beaten, the salt, and we'll do the saleratus later. And then we just have to start adding the flour. I kind of looked at recipes. It ranged between like 3 and 4 cups. So I guess we'll see. So why don't you do the eggs?
Perfect.
And I will do the butter.
Okay, so I'm going to be loud because I have to crack some eggs.
And I'm going to microwave, so you're going to hear the beeps.
Oh my gosh, this is serious cooking here, people. We got yeast.
This entire teaspoon is melted.
Wow, that took such a long time.
I know, right? And then do you want to be in charge of the flour since you're the baker here?
We're just going to do like a quarter at a time.
Okay, and let's see how that looks. And once we get the flour in there, we can add the salt.
Yeah, you can do it now.
Oh, okay. The salt is
a teaspoon. I like that in this recipe, it doesn't say a teaspoon. It says a teaspoonful.
That's
all
right.
is one word.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that was wild.
Oh, this looks, yes. I'm happy with that.
Okay, so it's about 3.5
quarter, I think. I did
3.25. Okay, and then there's the entire teaspoon of salt.
You might need just a little more.
A little more flour, you think?
I mean, I've never made this. What do I know? But yes.
Okay, so we'll try 3.5. It's very elastic. It's
awesome,
doughy, right? Yeah,
but
very doughy.
Also battery all at the same time.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was.
Oh my gosh, that is just like pound cake. And then the recipe actually says to set to rise in a warm place for 3 hours in warm weather, longer in the winter, or it may be mixed at night for breakfast.
Okay, so what we're going to do, which is absolutely not what they would do in 1902.
Yep. We're going to put this in the oven. We're going to cross our fingers. Hopefully it will rise. Maybe we'll have to rely on the saleratus. But we're going to see you guys in a bit, and we'll let you know what happens.
Yeah, and by a bit, we're going out shopping. So
yep. So smell you later.
We have rising.
Yeah, it is really risen lovelily.
It did. So now I've stirred it, which makes all the rising fall.
Wait. I haven't added the saleratus to it yet.
Oh, I'm so glad you caught that.
Yeah, so we're going to add the half a teaspoon of saleratus.
The sody kind.
Yeah, to the hot water.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Carrie's going to add that to the batter.
Yes.
This is exciting.
Be interesting to see how this goes.
It will be. Okay, so I pour it in?
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
So it should, as it cooks, give us a nice little burst of bubbles. Yes.
Nice.
To add kind of those nooks and crannies that English muffins are so famous for.
Because we want those crooks and nannies.
Crooks and nannies.
Okay, so now I've put this electric griddle on 300. Perfect. What do you think? Is 300 too high? I just don't know.
Let's just start with one.
Okay,
see what happens, and then we can do more.
And we need to spray the inside of the muffin ring.
So they buttered.
They buttered them, yes. But I was just going to spray because this is what they said on the English muffin recipes from 2025.
I gotcha. Okay. Look we got extra bubbles from our...
oh my goodness. Okay, well there's the ring.
Do we have to spray the griddle?
Probably. Okay, so Carrie's putting 1 scoop in. I think that looks good. And also, it didn't say how long to cook. Although I did find online, it said for 5 to 8 minutes on one side.
Yeah, this says when one side is done, turn the muffin ring and all, and bake to a delicate brown.
Well,
so
yeah, how are we going to know when it's done?
Not the first flipping clue. This is probably going to be a dud anyway.
Yeah.
Since we have not the first clue.
Yeah, it's dark enough on one side.
Probably could have done a little bit longer. But look, it fell in the ring, though. I love the fact that we're sticking true to 1902 times by using an electric griddle. Oh, look, we must have flipped it a little too early because it's coming out
oozing out the side.
Maybe a little lower than 300.
I agree. I've turned it down a little bit. We'll try 250.
Okay.
Shall I flip it and let's see what it's like now, or just let it cook a bit? I think
you need to let it cook a little more.
But you know what? It's almost to the top.
It's risen. It looks fantastic. Okay, I don't know that we're making for a compelling podcast.
I know,
but you and I are having so much fun.
Look at this. Look what's happening. Look at you.
I can't stop laughing.
Okay, so let's go back and talk about 1902 as we cook on our electric griddle.
Yes, true to the times, electric griddle.
Yes. Okay, so 1902, the music that was really popular, I always tell you guys about the music of the time, right? Mm-hmm. It was actually ragtime that was super popular.
I thought for sure it was going to be Mr. Ingalls on his fiddle.
Oh, that would have been good, but no. One of the most popular songs in 1902 people know today.
Oh.
It is, Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey, Won't You Come Home?
It's hard.
Was most popular song, one of the most popular. Of course, Scott Joplin's The Entertainer, which was just piano.
Oh, I was going to say, I am the entertainer.
Oh.
I mean, that's no Billy Joel.
No, I like the Billy Joel one a little bit better. And then the third most popular song in 1902 was by Williams and Walker, and it was called Good Morning, Carrie.
Hey!
Build it your way.
Good morning, 1902.
Good morning. Oops, sorry, I'm going to take the hot ring off. There we go. It feels like a hockey puck.
Does it? Is it hard as a lump?
It's real solid.
It is. You want to try another one while we're waiting on that one?
Yep. Okay, so let's
go. We got a whole griddle. We might as well.
All right, so let me spray the ring. It did not stick, so I think spraying it was perfect. And now we have it on 250. Ooh, it's beautiful. Let's get it all spread out.
All right. I think we should just go for broke and do 2 of these sons of guns.
Sons of guns. Oh, yeah. So now, how about to thrill our listeners? Let me tell you about some of the most cool inventions of 1902.
Okay, and then I say let's open our hockey puck and see what's what.
I agree. Okay, but we'll need a fork to do that because you do not cut English muffins. Or according to this, you do not cut raised muffins.
Gotcha.
Risen-did muffins.
Having none of that.
No. Okay, one thing that was invented in 1902 was the teddy bear.
Oh, because of Teddy Roosevelt.
Absolutely. It was after that political cartoon when Teddy Roosevelt was on a hunting trip and he spared the life of a black bear cub.
Oh, because they're so cute.
I know, right? And so this guy actually wrote to Teddy Roosevelt and got permission to use his name.
Oh, I'll be darned. I
Yep.
did read that in 1902, adults enjoyed receiving the teddy bear as much as children.
How cool.
Yeah, I think it's probably just such a novel concept. Do you want to open that puck and then talk about more things?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. I think actually the puck might need to cool a few seconds.
Oh, probably.
So I'll take it off. I'll put it on the
and
cooling
then
rack.
tell us something genius, Kristen.
The electric hearing aid was invented in 1902.
How?
I do not know. They plugged it into the wall and had a cord. I'm just kidding. It was one of those horns that you stuck in your ear, but it was also plugged into the wall.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because
there was nothing.
No.
Yeah.
So that was really. Oh, these are rising up to the top of the English muffin ring. That's awesome. Okay, the last thing that was invented in 1902 that I wrote down. You're not going to believe this. If you thought that hearing aids were pretty cool, you're going to love this.
Okay.
Air conditioning.
What?
William Carrier no, his name was Willis. Sorry, what you talk about? Willis. Willis Carrier invented air conditioning in 1902. So here's the funny thing. Air conditioning was invented in 1902. That was the year before tea bags were invented.
What?
I know, right?
It's amazing at how early things were invented before they ever caught on.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's 100 years or so. That's pretty great.
I have flipped the English muffins. You probably heard the tick-tack-tick. And they look just like store-bought on the top.
They look pretty good.
Perfect color. Shall we do some more or should we? No, let's cut that one open. Let me get butter.
Well, I don't think we're going to want to eat this one.
You don't think?
No.
I like to eat everything, Carrie. Is it too hot?
It's hot. I'm not screaming.
She's sticking the fork all the way around. I think she's properly.
Yeah. So, Kristen, what is up with this whole fork thing and no knife?
Yeah, you're not supposed to cut them. This 1902 cookbook was very adamant about not cutting them. As a matter of fact, it said to split them open on the top with your fingers and stick in a little wedge of butter.
Just in the top. Well, I want mine fully buttered.
Me too. I don't want a little wedgie. Oh my gosh, she split it open. It has cricks and nannies.
It looks like a stinking English muffin.
It does. And look, these muffins are totally rising.
This is the most exciting thing we've ever made.
I want butter. Let's try this.
Okay.
Ooh, it's so melty. Shall we split it?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, well, you have to go first because somebody has to talk and see what it looks like. Okay, so there's a giant pat of butter. So if this is not good, it is not because of lack of butter.
The bootleg pup-like one tastes just like an English muffin. This is so good.
That's good. It's fresh bread, but I'll be honest, the dough's too thick. I think these next ones will be better. I mean, I'd eat the whole thing. Don't get me wrong.
You know what? Carrie's always the naysayer in here.
Paul Hollywood would call that clangy, Kristen.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to put the rings on.
Okay. And then Kristen's going to spray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so do you have more things or should we give these people a break?
I think we should give these guys a break. We will continue cooking these and we'll be back in just a minute and we can do a true taste test, even though I'm eating the rest of that hockey puck while we're on our hiatus.
We will be obnoxiously excited about what we've created. I can promise you. Because obviously we didn't think this was going to work at all.
I thought we were going to screw this up and embarrass ourselves, quite honestly.
The fact that we've created something edible is so incredibly exciting.
All right. We'll see you guys in a bit. We did it, Carrie.
Oh, we did it.
It's flippin' amazing. I'm so proud of us.
I am too. And we learned things, people. Oh, did we learn things?
We did. We learned things for you.
Yes.
Because we really think you ought to make these.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Carrie was going to say without a doubt.
Really what I was going to say, and I've said this before, on occasion we come up with a recipe that is so extraordinarily delicious, yet not all that difficult to make, that you'd be a fool not to.
They're impressive.
So impressive.
They're delicious as evidenced by the fact that every time Carrie looked at me, I was shoving a piece of English muffin in my mouth.
People. I mean, I don't want to embarrass Kristen, but
Oh, yes, she does. Who are we kidding? Yes, she does.
but let me paint a picture here for you. I look over and Kristen is shoving 3/4 of a half of an English muffin in her mouth. There are English muffin bits flying hither and yon from her face as she is shoving this into her gaping pie hole. Then her husband comes in and she's like, "Hey, sweetie, would you like to try this?" He says, "Sure." He takes a bite. He's like, "That's delicious. Here, give the rest to our son." Kristen says, "Okay." And I can see her shift the eyes, look to the right, look to the left. Nobody's looking at me. Her head starts shaking in anticipation and open mouthedness as she shows. I mean, he took a normal sized bite. She ate 3/4 and then she choked.
Because Carrie was making so much fun. Choked up the English muffin. Listen.
But did that stop her?
No, I shouldn't have. This was a great recipe. Take it from me. You know what?
Maybe don't eat them like Kristen.
Really don't eat them like Kristen. But we timed things for you guys.
We did. Like we have a temperature, 275 for the electric griddle.
Perfect. 275 was perfect.
Yep.
5 minutes of cooking on the first side.
Yeah, and really, you just want the top to look kind of dry. You know how when you make a pancake,
Yeah.
how you start to see kind of the batter get dry looking,
yeah,
less shiny? You want most of that.
That's right. And that's when you start to flip that first one
Yep.
around 5 minutes time.
Yep.
And then you cook it on the other side for round about 4 to 5 minutes.
Yep.
On the other side, you just kind of watch, but you can flip it back and forth. It did nothing to it. It
Right.
didn't change the bounciness of it or anything to flip it over and check it.
No, not at all.
No, you definitely want some tongs.
Yes.
Because those rings are hot as Hades.
Yes, they are.
And it's way easier to just, when you're done, take the ring off. It
Yep.
just slides right off. It was super easy.
Mhm.
And just pop that to the side or leave it on the griddle, really.
Yeah.
And then to move the English muffin to the cooling rack.
Yep. Split them with the fork.
Yeah,
No
that
big
worked
deal.
beautifully.
It did.
Carrie burned fingers a little bit
Couple
earlier,
times,
but you know,
that's all right.
that worked great. We toasted one for my son and it was delicious,
Mhm.
toasted.
Mhm.
So these are just absolutely lovely.
Fantastic. And then you could take those rings, leave them on the griddle,
Yeah.
crack an egg in a couple of them, have perfectly English muffin sized eggs.
Yes.
Cook those suckers up and then do like a Canadian bacon
Yeah.
or a round sausage. Make yourself a fresh, homemade English muffin sandwich.
Oh, so good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like people are going to lose their stuff.
Oh my goodness, they are so good. And the butter melts all up in them criggity
So
crags.
delightful.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what.
Do tell us what.
If you put some honey on it, think of Grandma Honey.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, because they are delightful. Thank you, Grandma Honey, for this beautiful cookbook that
Heck
gave
yeah.
us so much joy. A recipe that we are actually going to put on our website. We're going to put all the changes that we made. We're not going to change the name of that sody saleratus. So you're going to have to figure out that means baking soda because that is funny. We're going to put that in there. Carrie said, and she's not kidding, adding that at the last minute and then giving it 10 to 15 minutes to rise is like having your second rise with the yeast.
It really was because I was looking at that dough thinking, man, we really need a second rise here. And the baking soda did it. And these things are so fun to watch. You put them in the ring, they rise. You flip them over, they rise.
They pull away from the edge of the ring and they just keep going up. You definitely want to buy those rings because that is what made them go up rather than spread outward.
Yeah.
You definitely want the rings. You can buy them on Amazon for $5.
Yeah, find them on sale. I have not had this much fun since probably one of our first ones.
It was so much fun. Not only did we find such fun notes from the book and ideas and things that made us laugh and question.
Oh man, so far out of our comfort zone.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of us for figuring this out. And so we're going to share that wealth of knowledge that we have with you so that you know everything to do to make these turn out perfectly.
Yeah, could not encourage you enough to try. And they are so delicious.
Yeah.
So delicious. If you do, please take pictures and email them to us.
Yes, we'd love to see them.
Oh, so much. I think it's momswoodenspoon1@gmail.com.
Correct.
Our hearts have just been in this so much.
Yes.
That we would love to see your enthusiasm in it too, because it would add to our own.
Absolutely. I think we made Grandma Honey proud.
I think so.
Yep. Well, now that I wiped my tears, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this special trip. Be sure to mark your calendars for our next episode on March 10th. This time you will be getting a BOGO deal.
Oh, hey.
Yep, you heard it right. 2 for the price of 1. What? Don't miss it.
Thanks for listening to Mom's Wooden Spoon. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. If you want a copy of this recipe or to see the pictures and other items from this episode, go to our website, momswoodenspoon.com. If you'd rather, check us out on Facebook or Instagram. Pick your poison.
Don't say poison. We're making food. So you need me to get the what?
The... Oy. Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? He lives on Drury Lane.